On December 27, 1892, Livingstone and Biddle College, now known as Johnson C. Smith University, played in Salisbury, North Carolina, with Biddle winning 5-0. Over time, HBCU football has evolved. HBCU football's popularity continues to rise. Millions attend games each year and millions more watch on television. The HBCU bands provide some of the top entertainment in the country. Over that time, some of the best players to ever play in the National Football League played at HBCUs. Every Monday through Friday on the HBCU Football Daily Podcast, national radio and television host Donal Ware takes a look at what's happening in HBCU football and talks with coaches, players, administrators, and media about the season. Make sure you join the conversation on social media. Now, here's your host, Donal Ware.
You've got it locked to another edition of the HBCU Football Daily Podcast. This time for today, Friday, September 15th. I'm Donal Ware. It's Friday, week 3 in HBCU football. And before we preview the HBCU national game of the week, a couple of housekeeping notes on the weekend edition of BOXTOROW. We've got a couple of guests, as a matter of fact, that are going to be joining us. First of all, Marquise Bell, former defensive back with Florida A&M and HBCU All-American, had a really good game for the Cowboys against the Giants. He's going to join us on the weekend edition of BOXTOROW. Also this weekend, actor Sean Dominic, he plays the role of Nate Hastings Jr. in The Young and the Restless. He's a Delaware State alum. He's also going to join us on BOXTOROW this weekend, and he's going to be our celebrity guest picker this weekend. So it's a couple of games we're asking him to pick: Delaware State and Richmond, Hampton and Howard, a couple of other games, a couple of other FBS games, a couple of NFL games as well, including the Cowboys and the Jets. So that's on the weekend edition of BOXTOROW. You can log on to boxtorow.com and click on the affiliates link to find a radio station in your area that carries the program. You can also listen on Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central Time. That's 6 a.m. out west on Sirius XM Channel 142 HBCU. Now, the HBCU national game of the week is Hampton taking on Howard, the battle of the real HU. I mean, we could have gone with Alabama A&M and Southern. I think this game between both HUs, both teams are 1-1, and even though it's not a conference game, it really can help to dictate the rest of the season in a way for both of these teams. I'm going to start with the Bison. Howard, coming off the blowout victory over Morehouse, did what you're supposed to do. If you're Howard and you're playing Morehouse, you're supposed to take care of Morehouse easily, and that is, in fact, what Howard did. Now, maybe some of the past programs and Howard may have won this game, but not in the dominating fashion in which the Bison won this game. You can see the turn. You can see that this is a different Howard program. You can see what Howard was able to do down the stretch last year to unofficially gain a share of the MEAC crown. I'm looking at Quentin Williams, the quarterback, and again, he was the key last year down the stretch. He has been really, really good this year. I mean, if I look at the numbers, I'm going to bring up Quentin Williams's numbers in front of me. 5 touchdown passes, 0 interceptions. And again, that also includes the Eastern Michigan game where the Bison played up and had a nice second half. He's thrown no interceptions this year. That's a bit of a change. Now, he's only completing 56% of his passes, but as the games continue to go on, I think that number will continue to increase. One of the things we have not seen from Quentin Williams this year is running the football. He's really a dual threat, but he hasn't really run the football that much this year. Not that he's had to, because he's got a really good running game where the Bison this year are averaging 287 yards per game. And I mean, listen, we can talk about playing Morehouse and how the Bison dominated Morehouse, and you may say, well, it's a D2 opponent and not a very good one. Morehouse's program is not very good right now. At the end of the day, Howard ran for in excess of 200 yards against Eastern Michigan as well. So they played up, they played down. Those averages look pretty good. Let's look at them. 287.5 yards rushing per game, throwing in terms of passing, averaging 218 yards passing per game. You've got a really good, a strong running game. Casey Hawthorne, Ian Wheeler, Edrin James. I mean, the Bison are running the football. I mean, they are running the football, and to the tune of 7.7 yards per carry. So the Bison doing a good job of running the football. I think also they're doing a solid job in terms of stopping the run as well. 138 and a half yards is what the Bison are giving up per game. And in the passing game, Howard's been good, okay? Only giving up 150 yards passing per game. So you got to give the Bison a lot of credit in terms of what they've been able to do. Now, they have to do a better job in terms of rushing the quarterback, and they're going to have to do a solid job in terms of protecting the quarterback in Quentin Williams as well. Now, on the other side, when I look at Hampton. Now, Hampton had a really nice win over Grambling, come back the next week in the Battle of the Bay at home, falls to Norfolk State. I mean, it was, 31-23, so it was an 8-point game. But, I mean, I think, Hampton was down a little bit more than that throughout the course of the game. And I was a bit surprised. The reason being is this. I thought Hampton came off a nice one. Now, I mean, I realize Grambling still has some work to do, but if you're Hampton and you win a game like that on a neutral site in Jersey, get that victory, you should be feeling good. And I get it, it's a rivalry game, okay? But you should be feeling good coming into a matchup against Norfolk State, a team that's coming off a loss to Virginia State. Listen, no disrespect to Virginia State, but coming off a loss to Virginia State the week before. That's a game that Norfolk State should win. I look at the running game, okay? Hampton getting it done in the running game. 251.5 yards rushing per game on average against two FCS opponents. That's good. But where the Pirates have struggled a little bit in the pass game, Chris Zelius, he's thrown 4 interceptions this year. So he's going to have to cut down on those interceptions. He's completing right around 60% of his passes. So he's going to have to cut down on those interceptions. But Hampton can rely on its running game. But again, Howard is not bad in terms of stopping the run. Meanwhile, for Hampton on the defensive side of the football, I tell you what, you look at the Pirates do a really good job of stopping the run, only giving up 114.5 yards rushing per game. Where the Pirates have struggled is in the passing game or the pass defense. Norfolk State and Grambling averaged 250.5 yards passing, completed close to 69% of the passes, 5 touchdowns to 1 interception. So Hampton's going to have to be better in that pass defense, and this is the issue. Grambling's Grambling's passing game, okay? Norfolk State's passing game, not as good as Howard's passing game with Quentin Williams as the quarterback. So now you go up against a semi-elite passing game if you're Hampton, giving up all those kind of numbers. And I know Robert Prunty and his staff I'm sure have been up trying to figure out how to stop the passing game. One other thing I would also note, if I'm Hampton, yes, Quentin Williams hasn't run the football that much this year, but he has the ability to do so. So you have to be cognizant of his run ability, even though in the past game, he's been very, very solid. Again, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions on the season. Wants to get that completion percentage up. But again, solid overall. So my thoughts on this game, my prediction for the Battle of HU, I think that Howard wins this football game. I think it's a game that each team needs. You want to win every game. It's not a conference game, right? But you want to win every game. And it would put each team at 2-1 on the season. Howard already in both the media and coaches polls, while Hampton is in ranked only in, if I'm not mistaken, and the Pirates may not be, but are only ranked in the coaches poll right now. So it'll give you sort of that leg up in the media poll. So and the polls as a whole. So, those are my thoughts on the HBCU National Game of the Week. Another housekeeping note: Virginia State head football coach Dr. Henry Frazier, also going to be a guest on the program, but not on the weekend edition of the program. Going to be a guest tonight on BOXTOROW on Sirius XM College Sports Radio. That program airs. It's channel 84 tonight, 6 p.m. in the East, 5 p.m. for my Central Time folks, and 3 p.m. out West. A conversation with Virginia State head football coach Dr. Henry Frazier. And again, don't forget about the weekend edition of BOXTOROW, which can be heard on a radio station near you. Again, log on to our website at boxtorow.com for a radio station in your area that carries the program. I want you guys to have a great, a fantastic weekend. Don't forget to listen to the show this weekend and mention the guests. So we're super excited about that. Enjoy week 3 in HBCU football. One of the games I'm going to have my eye on is North Carolina Central at UCLA. Look, the Eagles getting $700K for that game, and it's an opportunity for some of the Eagles to showcase their talent, specifically Davius Richard, the quarterback for the Eagles. Again, if you missed any of our podcasts over the last month and a half that we've run these podcasts, or any from our previous years, you can always log on to our website at boxtorow.com to listen to those podcasts. Don't forget to tell a couple of friends this weekend about the HBCU Football Daily Podcast, where you can watch on the BOXTOROW YouTube channel, as well as on iHeartMedia.com and BOXTOROW.com. Have a fabulous weekend, and I'll talk with you on Monday.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the HBCU Football Daily Podcast. You can also listen to the podcast at BOXTOROW.com, iHeartMedia, or wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to get your HBCU football fix on BOXTOROW with Donal Ware each weekend on the radio station near you, and on Sirius XM on HBCU, channel 142, and on ESPNU Radio on Sirius XM, channel 84. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at BOXTOROW for the latest in HBCU football, and don't forget to tell a friend.